CJ here on Schmooze with CJ. So November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. So each week I'm going to post something based off of this Diabetes Awareness Month calendar. Each day it gives me something to talk about, something to show. So we're going to start that. So day one is my diagnosis story. So my freshman year, it was last year, I started losing a lot of weight. I was losing my hair. I was going to the restroom all the time. I was drinking tons of water. I was eating and again still losing. I would lose like 9 to 10 pounds a week. And my parents started to notice this, but I was overweight, so losing all the weight and everything, that wasn't that bad. And finally, after everything was shut down due to the COVID quarantine, my parents really started to notice what was going on, that I was losing my hair, that I was eating all the time. And so they called my doctor. The doctors rushed me in. They checked my blood, and I ended up being diabetic, and I spent 3 days in ICU until they could get my blood sugar down a little bit. I had gone into diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA, and when I went to the hospital, my blood sugar was about 575, and then once I got to the hospital and they started giving me insulin, they came back down. It was probably the most chaotic 3 days of my life. Everybody was so worried because of the COVID quarantine. My parents, my friends couldn't come see me. You know, I didn't quite understand what was going on. It was extremely hectic. So, the second day is to share my CGM data. So, I will show you guys a picture. So, today I've actually had a pretty good day. Usually my blood sugars go all over the place. I struggle with lows a lot. I struggle with highs a lot. It's just crazy. The third day is to tell a low blood sugar moment. So I take culinary at my career campus, and we were having our lesson. We were fixing to take a test, and my blood sugar dropped into the 30s. I think I was down at 38, and I spent like an hour in the nurse's office, and I'm like, I just missed my entire test. I was shaky. I couldn't think clearly, and all I knew is that I want to go take this test. I don't want to make this up. Gotta go take this test. But I'm like, my nurses are like, but you can't, you know. And since I was at the career campus, they don't have like an actual nurse, and so they didn't quite know what was going on, and it was absolute craziness. Day number 4 is to tell a high blood sugar moment. The other night, I had dinner. I had the tiniest bowl of ice cream, sugar-free ice cream. I went to bed, and I didn't hear like the first 3 alarms, but like the alarms kept going off, and I looked, and I was in the 300s. And I'm like, I really don't want to get up. I was half asleep. I had to go downstairs, check my blood sugar. Obviously, so it's not as dangerous to be high unless like you're in the 300s. Then you have to check for ketones and all that. being low is more dangerous, but still highs are really scary. Day number 5 is diabetes essentials. So I have type 1 diabetes. So essentially my pancreas, so my immune system attacked my pancreas. So my pancreas no longer makes insulin so that I can process the sugars in food to get energy. And because of that, if I don't take artificial insulin, then the sugar from all the food just stays in my blood. And it causes my blood to turn to acid if it gets too high. The daily life of a diabetic, you wake up, you check your blood sugar, you take insulin, you eat. And it's constant, checking your blood sugar, making sure you're okay, eating if you're low, taking insulin if you're high. And one thing that kids at my school don't understand is that if I don't do it correctly, I could die. If I give myself too much, I have to eat. If I give myself too little, I have to go to the nurse and to go take insulin. And kids don't understand how difficult that can be. They also don't understand the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Anytime anyone figures out that I have diabetes, whether I tell them or I've had kids recognize my Dexcom, they're like, you have diabetes, so you just ate too much sugar? And I'm judged for that. And I hate that because type 1 diabetes, it's hereditary. So it came from somebody in my family had it, and that caused me to have it. And it's not something that I did. It's just hereditary. And kids don't want to accept that. They don't understand that. So they judge you for it, and that's difficult sometimes. Day 6. Day 6 is proudly showing off your diabetes. So because it's Diabetes Awareness Month, I have started wearing patches around my Dexcom just to show it off. Say, hey, this is who I am, kind of, deal with it, right? This is what I am. And usually I cover up my Dexcom as much as I can. I wear longer sleeves. But this month, I'm proud to show it off. I'm bringing awareness to my community. This is who I am. This is who I'm always going to be. So why not show it off? And to conclude this week's, day number 7 is a family who supports you. My parents, since my diagnosis, it's been really hard because it's hard to accept the fact that, your daughter has this lifelong disease, and I would never get sick. Every time I got sick, they would be so worried because that never happened. And then to find out that now I'm always going to be sick, right? That I have to be more careful and try not to get sick because of what could happen. Knowing I'm, sometimes they treat me like I'm this porcelain doll that could break at any moment. And while I hate that so much, I love that they care, that they want to make sure that I'm okay. My extended family, my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins, they've been really helpful along the way. They've called me to check up on me. They've given me suggestions. They've just been there to talk to me. They're always making sure I'm okay. and they've just been there to support me. Also my friends, I mean, my closest friends, they're like, well, what can we do to help? What do you need? Are you okay? You know, every time I'm over at their house, they're like, here's the amount of carbs that's in the dish. I saved the box for you. And they've been really helpful. And so ever since my diagnosis, my family and friends have been just amazing. And that's made this life-changing experience easier to process and easier to get through. And I think every diabetic should have that connection. I mean, if a family member has diabetes, like, reach out, make sure they're okay, and that just would mean the world to them. Well, that concludes our week 1 video for November Diabetes Awareness Month. I will try and post another one next week for next week's events, I guess. If you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have suggestions, write it in the comments. I will try and look at those, and I will see you next week.